My fellow rock stars, today I'm going to share with you a simple concept or strategy that I call the weakest link that will help you open up your pipeline to achieving your rock star success or your big unreasonable dream 10 times faster. Hi, I'm Marvellous Mark, the Turn It Up rock star, and today I'm going to share with you this concept called the theory of constraint. Some people call it the bottleneck. I call it the weakest link. And basically what it is, as organizations or even as individuals, it helps us determine what is holding us back, where we should be actually putting most of our energies or most of our ideas, most of our creativities to open up that pipeline or the bottleneck to our big and reasonable dream. So I'm going to go ahead and share my screen with you right now. So what we have here, if I can find the play button, there we go, is a very simple version of a bottleneck. So on the left side of the bottleneck, that's where most organizations, most people spend their time. We have 80% of our efforts, 80% of our team working over here. We're being really, really busy. People are going, wow, that team is really, really awesome. They're really, really working. But are they working on the right thing? Are they working on the urgent or the important activities that's going to get them to the other side? And on the other side of the bottleneck is where our dreams, our big unreasonable dreams, our buds, our goals are. But you see that right in the middle? That's the bottleneck. That's the weakest link right there. And it doesn't matter how much effort we put over there in the busy section with our teams. We can add more team members. We can work longer hours until we determine what the bottleneck is and then focus or solve the bottleneck. It's just going to keep holding us back from our dreams and our goals. So what I've found, because you hear me talk a lot about the 80-20 rule, is that 20% that gets it done, the 20% that are the results that we need to really focus on, that is usually where the bottleneck lies. So what you need to do is get your teams together, your mastermind, your groups, have your creative jam session, and just start throwing ideas or concepts out on the table of where you feel the weakest link or where your bottleneck is for you or your organization. And then instead of just putting a few people on that, you put everyone or almost everyone or almost all of your energies there, because you're working over here in the 80%, you're just being busy. You're not being productive. You're not getting things done, because it doesn't matter how many people or how much time, effort, energy you put over there. You still have to go through the bottleneck, and that's holding you back from your dreams and your goals. So the simple thing is, first thing you want to do is determine or find your bottleneck. And you can do that creatively with throwing ideas out on the table or getting with your group, your mastermind, and trying to determine what it is. And it may take 2 or 3 tries. You may have to have some failure or some feedback to really zero in and get really, really clear on what the bottleneck is. Once you determine what that is, then take your team, take that 80% of energy, effort, and team members and focus on the bottleneck. Now, I've found that in most cases, you hear me talk about important versus urgent, that 20% is really the most important things, because that's really what's holding you back. So doesn't it make sense? It's just kind of common sense to take everyone and focus on the bottleneck. Now, usually you hear me talk about your top 3, that you never want more than 3 goals a day or a week or a month or even long term. So usually your top 3 is that 20%. Your top 3 is what you need to fix or solve or focus on to open up your bottleneck. And then once that bottleneck is open, you have a free flow of energy and success getting to your dreams and your goals, probably 10x or 10 times faster. Now, here's the thing I want you to think about. Sometimes people tell me when we can't figure out what the bottleneck is. If that's the case, 9 times out of 10, you need to look in the mirror and be completely honest with yourself, because guess what? You're the bottleneck. If you're not willing to change, if you're not willing to try new ideas, if you're not willing to take team members from the 80% of the busy area and put it on the bottleneck area, or that 20%, then guess what? You're the bottleneck. You're holding your company back, you're holding your team back, or you're holding your own personal growth back. And as a rock star, that takes a lot of honesty. We have to really be honest with ourselves of what we are scared of, what we are fearful of. I always say use fear as your GPS. So if that 20%, if that bottleneck is what you're afraid of or you don't want to do, that's the direction that you need to go. So I hope you enjoyed this little concept of the theory of constraints, or what I call the weakest link. And you have to trust me on this. Get with your teams, find out what your bottleneck is, focus on it, solve that bottleneck, and then have a free flow over to your goals and big and reasonable dreams. Now, keep in mind that once you solve one bottleneck, another one will eventually appear, but that's okay. That's a sign of growth. So you just do, rinse and repeat. You go back and focus on the bottleneck, put your teams and your efforts and your energies there, open it up, fix it, and then wait for the next bottleneck to arrive. So I thank you for taking time and listening. If you have any questions on the weakest link or the theory of constraints, please private message me. I appreciate you liking and sharing this channel with your friends, guests, relatives, and creditors. And remember, it's not rocket science, it's rock it science. Thanks a lot.